Good evening. This is the meeting of the Westport School Committee. It is Thursday, April 4th, 2024. It is 6:30. Could we all rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, which is behind us actually today. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have comments and statements from the public. Geez, Tony, nobody came to give us comments and statements. They must have emailed them.
Yeah,
We'll review those.
With the
Thank you so
48
much
hours
for
before.
all of the emails, Tony and I
We'll read
really
all those
appreciate.
hundreds of emails
We
later.
appreciate all of them so much. We're sure it has a lot of good messaging about, everything we've done over the years. So thank you much ahead of time before we review those. Where are my students?
They're in
Yeah, rehearsal.
drama.
All three of them.
All three of them are in drama.
They just tell her that.
Sister Act.
Really? All right, well, I'm going to miss them. But anyway, we're moving on to the riveting report by Superintendent Aubin.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, for that very enthusiastic waiting for my report. I appreciate that. Thank you. Mr. Cabral, after this meeting, can you make sure that the emails and fobs are shut off on some people who no longer are with us anymore? I just
They're dying
wanna
to
make
do
sure
that. He really has. He wants to keep Tony out. It's not me.
Oh, it's not after
Tim,
this
can I
meeting,
change
it's
that the
Tuesday.
agenda?
Tim, yeah, it's Tuesday. It's not
Not till
official
Tuesday.
Actually, not till Wednesday, to tell you the truth, really.
Wednesday when they
Right.
sign it, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, isn't it?
Yeah. So, want to play some basketball before, coming on Tuesday?
We could have a meeting on Monday.
Executive session.
Yeah, we can have an.
Lori
yeah, we
can't
could.
post it, it's not within 48 hours.
Emergency.
Emergency, yep. All right, go ahead. Sorry, Tom.
Well, I don't-
We're having too much fun,
Right.
sorry.
So I know that most of the committee members are aware that there was a finance committee meeting on 4/2. At that finance committee, the committee recommended a change to the select board's recommendation, I believe, in terms of finances for the district. The result of that finance committee meeting and their recommendations is that we will be looking at a possible additional shortage of $150,000. So obviously, we are going to have to keep an eye on what the final number is going to be, and we are certainly going to have to meet internally to readjust the possible cuts we may have to make for the 25 year. So wanted to make the committee aware of that. Again, that just came across yesterday, so wanted to share that with you. And I also wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to our staff. We had a bit of a tragedy as a community last week, and I think it's a real testament to the fortitude and the commitment this staff has to our kids, that in spite of the emotional jag that many of us were going through, we ran 2 events the night of the announcement, including the hold down over at the Macumber, which is a wildly popular event. And it just is it's a credit to this staff that regardless of what they face, chronic and acute budget shortages, trauma to family members, they continue to step up and put the kids first. And I just wanted to mention that, as this is both, your and Tony's last meeting, I think you can feel pretty good about the fact that during your tenure, we've made some significant improvements. And I want to give a particular shout out to Mr. Viveris right now, because since May of 2020, I have had the honor of serving with him on the building committee, which has not been exactly a ball of fun, as everybody knows. And, after the ribbon cutting and everybody says goodbye, it's Mr. Viveris who continued to show up to meetings and slug it out. So it's an honor and a privilege to call you my boss and my friend. So
Thank you.
I want to thank you. I also want to, and I don't normally make it about me, but too bad.
It's your report.
I received a phone call to meet with the the chairperson of the school committee, or actually a member of the school committee, about the possibility of working for the Westport Community Schools if I was interested in putting in an application. And I remember at the time thinking, oh, God, the last thing I want to do is do this again, you know? And I want to personally thank, again, my boss, but also my friend, Nancy Stanton Cross, for giving me the opportunity to, over the past 4 years, work with some of the nicest people you could ever be associated with. And I consider it an honor and a privilege in spite of all of the
He still likes me.
challenges that we have faced.
Last meeting, though.
He wasn't happy the last meeting.
Listen, you know, I say it all the time. We may not agree all the time, but I know that every member of this committee, regardless of their position, cares about kids in the district, and that's the most important thing to me. And when you have disagreed with me, you've done it straight to my face. You haven't, you know, hidden it with agendas. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate the professional honesty and dignity that you've allowed me to have and my family as a result of, you know, working for this terrific school district. So I want to thank you both for really what an honor to be to have you not only as bosses but friends. You guys are quality people, and I feel very privileged when people, you know, talk about their committees and having problems with them. I feel real good about the fact that we can disagree with each other and prove to the community that in the end we're civil to one another, because that's what it's all about. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I certainly hope I met your expectations, and thank you very much. That's all I got.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom, very much. We've all had the opportunity to look at the staff and, well, actually, before that, budget. What is the number now that our deficit is? The grand total is?
Our deficit right now?
No, based on the FinCom meeting last night, which will be recommended.
So they are now, so originally, the original number that they first were giving us as the last time was 22,652,207. Then last night, Mr. Orban received a phone call, and that number now is 22,499,082. So that now puts us at a deficit for FY '25 at $598,486. One of the other conversation was that 65,000 of that, the police department had a grant that they were going to pay, so that would come off of this 598. But again, that needs to happen at town meeting before we can count on that 65,000.
So the number is 533?
598,486.
Minus the potential, subtracting the
Correct,
potential
yes.
from town floor.
Exactly
Correct.
right, yeah.
So we're assuming
Yep.
probably
Correct.
533. Go ahead, Melissa.
What was the justification provided for doing that?
Watch the movie.
At the Finance Committee meeting, I was not there, but I did watch it recorded. It seems that a number of the Finance Committee had a problem with adjusting the traditional 54-46 delineation, school-to-town ratio. And so, you know, I believe at previous meetings where we have had collaborative meetings with both the Finance Committee and the Select Board, we had talked about the fact that this year had been an extraordinarily difficult year in the area of special education, and that we were looking at, and I believe it was Chair Stanton Cross who actually mentioned the fact that we have 2 out-of-district placements that resulted in somewhere around $750,000 that was unanticipated. And I just mentioned to Mrs. Cabral and Mr. Gendro that it looks like we're getting a student who had left the district back, and it looks like that student is going to need some significant services, once again, that were not planned per se, so it's another unfunded mandate at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I think, again, Evan, did you have something to say? 'Cause
Yeah,
I know that
just to add to that, so I think it's important to point out just a couple of quick things. the recommendation that was received as of this week was not in line with the select board's recommendation prior to this.
That's important.
So that distinction there, but also, as
The
part of,
select
as
board's an elected board and the FinCom is not.
correct, yeah.
Let me be clear.
Just to add to that also, the select board's recommendation included a reduction in the free cash allocation to the schools, which was the goal of the finance committee going into the budget process, to reduce the free cash allocation that went to the schools by $100,000 each year from the $500,000 that had been given the previous few fiscal years. So the select board's recommended budget did that. The school still would have had some cuts, roughly $380,000 worth of cuts from that recommended budget. But that was with a reduction in the free cash to $400,000 and an adjustment to the split, the revenue split from Chapter 70 money, which had increased due to increased enrollment in the school district. So I think that's an important distinction to put out there. And the Finance Committee's latest recommendation that was discussed this week includes an increase of the free cash allocation back to $500,000, but
Yeah.
remains the revenue split at the 54-46 mark.
So they don't want the money to come out of the operational budget, and they want it to come out of free cash, so then they can deduct us every single year. I-
Just silly.
It's fine. It's apples and oranges. The point of the matter is that people should watch the meeting.
Right.
Look at the tone of the meeting. Look exactly what they're telling you. I will stand by our budget. You people did a great job the night of the meeting. Everybody knew it. It was spot on, and it is the transparent budget. I am personally insulted for the district and this board when I hear things coming out of FinCom members' mouths that say things such as, we never provided them something they asked for, we never gave them line items of cuts to the school system, they never saw that. That is absolutely false. False, false, false. We have given them anything they've asked. They never asked for a list of the cuts, they asked us to tell them the cuts, which we did. Had they asked for a list, we would. And if they would like, we'll include the pink slip copy with it. They cut this district every single year. We are cut. 200, 300,000 last year, cut. 280, 300 last year. Every single year we are cut.
270.
Where do they think that where's the pot of gold? We have to cut people. We cut TAs last year. You know, the year before we had to cut an instructor.
We
We're doing the-
eliminated, if you remember, our LB program, which ended up costing us because they end up being out-of-district
So,
placements as a result.
If you want to allocate and you want to do that, and you want to make an argument, that's fine. But don't say we're not transparent. Don't say that we haven't provided cuts. I mean, it seemed to me it was, they want to hear that the school department has cuts on town floor. They want the town to, the way I got the meeting was, they want the town to understand that not having the override is going to cause cuts. And they want that to be seen as a validation for why the 2.5 was made. And that's not what the select board or the school committee was doing. We worry about our kids, our staff, we want them safe, we want to keep the programs, we want to do all of these things. And we're not worried about the political messaging. I'm just not. I'm not worried about it. And so I want people to watch it. And you know what? If you don't come out and exercise your right to vote, and you don't come to that town meeting and support the school budget, then you only have yourselves to blame. I don't know how to say it any other word. Doing town government, town meeting, you can change a lot of things. You can do things. You can show them how invested we are in this district. But, you know, I respect that they have their figures and they want to do it that's what the finance committee does. That's fine. But don't say that we haven't given them something.
When's the deadline for warrants? Because can't we sponsor warrants on the
We
floor too?
could, but, yeah, but that, we could sponsor a warrant. I think it's 2 weeks before the meeting, you can do a warrant up to that, because then it goes to print. I think it's 2
So I wonder if as a school committee, we have to strategically think of what we want. Because as you've mentioned, and I find it interesting that that occurred after our last meeting when we voted to have just the school committee and the Board of Selectmen and not the FinCom. Do you remember that was at the last meeting?
That was on the special purpose line item.
Right, so I find that interesting that now this other meeting comes in and our budget's been cut. It's So, you know, what can we do as a school committee that's within our rights as elected individuals by this town to put something on the warrant that adds value to us? And maybe there isn't,
I
but,
don't think you can do that for the budgetary, so the finance committee, and they reminded everybody last night, that they make the recommendations on the town budget. They're a committee that's appointed by the town moderator, and they have terms that last, there's not a term.
oh, yeah, I know.
And they recommend on the budget, and that's fine, that's how town government works. The select board and the school committee being the elected boards, we make our proposed budget just like the fire does, just, you know, like the police do. And then the select board, you know, they vote on the budget as what they want, and what they did, I thought, was fair. I mean, we're still having
agree.
cuts, we were still taking $380,000 in cuts. But they were fair, they were mindful, they heard us, they understood that this was a one-time tsunami of sped expenses, that when you get them, you have to pay them, and you don't get any reimbursement from the state until the following year. So it is like a one-time expense. It's not that we're gonna get the full $750 on the circuit breaker, but it will certainly take the brunt out of that number. And we could work with it. But, and I thought that we were really straightforward on explaining circuit breaker and did a great job, and it has no reflection on you. I really do believe that this has something to do about not our budget. But in any event, town meeting, people have got to go. And the budget gets proposed, and at town meeting, people can make motions from the floor, and they can move around the numbers as the voters deem fit. And that's telling, you know, people how you feel and what you want. Same thing with the sewer vote. It's gonna go down the same way. People are gonna be able to voice their opinions. Anybody have any other questions? Anything?
Just quickly to note, I think Superintendent Aubin made a really important point. These cuts, while they may seem like short-term savings, end up costing the
More.
town and the district significantly more money. If we can't provide a service, or we have to reduce staff and can no longer provide a service to a student who needs, you know, certain education needs that we can't meet, and we have to send them out of district, that's a significant cost to the district. If we can't service them at a younger age to prevent, you know, them from needing additional services in the future and reach them earlier, and we have to reduce that staffing figure, then that's gonna cost the district more money. So I think these continuous cuts only cause more problems down the line, which we brought up in the process very early on. We've explained this to them, you know, since October when we first met. So, and I also have to give a big credit to our business department, which did such a great job with not only presenting the budget, but being responsive to, you know, the questions that were posed by the finance committee, and, you know, and I think it was a great collaborative process that went forward, and, you know, we were transparent and.
Hey, you can't do it any better than we did this year. We
Right.
got $366,000 in extra Chapter 70 money. Why? Because we're retaining students. So we go and cut the budget, because that's a good idea to retain students. It's not. It's obvious. But we brought $366,000 more to this town than they had the last year. You can't bring that in from taxes. Even if you built houses all over the old school lot, you could not bring enough tax revenue to even meet what we brought in this year, 1 year, for retaining students in this district. That was what they wanted the new school for. That's what they charged this district with. Keep students in Westport, keep the retention, and we've done that. And then the ESSER funds. Look at Brockton. Look at Somerset Berkeley right now. Tiverton, Portsmouth, Newport. All of these school systems used ESSER funds for salaries. And now they have deficits of millions of dollars because of poor fiscal management. Do we have it? Not a dime, not a penny, because we manage the money prudently and fiscally correctly. And, you know, we're not looking for a hurrah, but you know what? We run a tight ship.
Yep.
And, you know, that's a credit to all of you. So the fact that this happened, that's okay. You know, the voters will vote at town meeting, and we'll, you know, that'll be what it is. I don't see this committee changing its number. We voted on the number. I know that Superintendent Aubin told the town we're standing by the number. I'm confident with the number, and I know everyone else on the committee is. So with that, that was a great conversation. Let's move along. Thank you. Staff and absenteeism reports, you've read those. We're gonna move on to the bill warrant. 4/5/2024, $449,949.35. I had some questions on ESSER expenditures. I got my answer, but I just had to ask a couple more questions before my last meeting. It felt good.
We didn't expect any.
We were
more
shocked.
last-
I know.
We really expected a lot more than that,
Well,
so.
Well, Tony actually
Well, a
worked
few
with
days,
me
still
on
has
this
a few
agenda.
days.
We have a couple of items that we want to clean up before we go. So we call them the Tony Nancy items. So, this one, senior project, this would be a Nancy item. Lisa Kaminsky, this would be she there? Yes. Curriculum Director Lisa Kaminsky, you knew you couldn't leave without having this last meeting and hearing about
This is a yes or
Senior
no question.
project.
This is a yes or no question.
never gonna be.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So I'm here to talk about a number of things tonight. We'll start with the senior project. I know you have a lot on the agenda, so I want to be as brief or as thorough as you wish. And I'd like to start with the recommendations that we're making as a school and a district. So just to start, since as long as teachers in the ELA department can remember, at the high school, 12th grade students have to successfully complete a senior project as a graduation requirement, a requirement that was mandated by the Westport School Committee at some time in the past. The senior project has different quantitative components for different English courses. Below, you'll find a table, so you all have a document that kind of delineates the major components at the different levels, like honors, college prep, and then the resiliency course. Below you, so you'll find that below. So after several meetings with the ELA department and discussions, a review of current and past practices, as well as thoughtful consideration of the goals of our department and the needs of our learners, we recommend the following. We recommend that the requirement of completing the senior capstone project to graduate be negated. We also recommend that the project continue and that it continue to be modified so that it is rigorous and demanding while taking into consideration the knowledge, skills, and career. It's on page 4, for those of you who are looking for it. 4 of my packet. Do they have all of this?
Four in
Lynn?
yours.
Okay, thank you.
We got it, thanks.
Want me to start over?
No,
Okay.
that's good.
Good,
Yes.
thank you. So that the project continue, and it will be continue to be modified so that it is rigorous and demanding while taking into consideration the knowledge, skills, and career and college goals of our students in honors, college prep, and resiliency courses. So following those I figured I'd put the recommendations at the top because I know that's what you're most interested in. But then there are quite a few pages that not only delineate what the expectations at each course level are, but the skills that students will gain as a result of working through this rigorous project, and the supports that they get at each different level. And then on page 5, in the electronic version, there's a link to a PowerPoint that is an example of the expectations of the PowerPoint portion of the presentation that students receive. Additionally, below that, there's an example of a rubric for one of the components of this year-long project. And then on page 6, I've snipped the Google Classroom assignments from an honors class and a college prep class so that you can see, just as an example on page 6. And it goes chronologically backwards. So it actually starts on page 7. And this is from last year when the project was a half-year project because the courses were semester-based. So this course started in January of 2023 and ran through middle May. And you can see that the process is very scaffolded. So students are assigned things at different points during the course, and they have to complete them with different levels of support depending on whether they're in an honors level class, college prep class, or if they're doing the resiliency as a senior after school. And then a similar snip for a college prep level class, which is actually longer because the assignments are further broken down.
Lisa, no, this is great, because you gave us the grids and the breakdown, and I appreciate that. So you're recommending that the committee remove it as a graduation requirement because it's included in the English class.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how does that, is that something that gets put on the action agenda? You're the.
I believe it is on the action agenda.
It is,
Can I-
but
Is-
Yeah.
what's the difference between it being part of an English requirement and not being a graduation requirement?
The school committee voted that that they have to pass the project in order to graduate,
This if they
in
pass
addition
English.
to the course.
So can someone take an English course, get an F in this and pass the class?
Theoretically, yes. It's a portion of their English 12 curriculum.
So it's going to be less, what percentage of their?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Because I don't see how they could have a senior project within a class and still pass, not pass the assignment and still pass the class. So I guess what I'm saying is, it seems like it's a one way of, it's still a
duplicitous to have
requirement.
it the same way. It's just having it under one thing. It's having it separate from the English class when it is.
No, it's part of the English
It's
class.
part of
the
but
English
that's why they're saying is not to take it. It's also a separated, it's a separate graduation requirement.
Just a
They
They have to pass English 12 to graduate. You
Right.
have to pass 4 years of English to
Right,
graduate.
so if
So if
this-
they're passing English, and for some reason they don't get a passing grade on this project, which would be difficult because it's scaffolded throughout the year. So if you're doing the assignments along the way, you're earning grades for the assignments along the way.
so-
And so it would be difficult not to pass if you're doing the work. But if you don't do the work on the senior project and you do the work for the other part of English, there's a possibility that you could pass English 12 with a 65, a 75, and pass English 12 and graduate if this weren't also a graduation requirement. But
So-
because it is a graduation requirement, if you don't pass the senior project, then you can't graduate. And you have to take English 12 all over again, according to the program of studies. You can't just do the senior project and pass.
So I hear what you're saying. I think the way that it's currently designed is that if you're, even looking at this, if you go block by block, if someone at the beginning gets stuck, the rest of the class has already moved on, and it's hard to go from the beginning. It's hard to go to make up, because if you're a student who is struggling at the beginning with, coming up with your problem paper, coming up with a problem, and you don't get that piece of it, the rest of the class moves on to solutions, you're still working on the problem. You're never being able to catch up. And if you don't have time in your class to do it, and if you don't have a teacher who is grading your papers at home and making, looking at a student's paper at home and providing feedback, then you're never going to get ahead. So I think my issue with this project is that I think it's a good idea, but I think that maybe it's our faculty or our teachers either need more support, but the way that it is currently going now, students can be lost in the shuffle. And I think saying it's not a requirement, but we're still going to have our students do it in an English class, but they'll still be able to pass it. I hear you saying that. I just have a difficult time believing it. I don't see how that would be possible.
Lisa, currently or in the past, the senior project was done during the student's English class, or a portion of that project.
Yes.
So they're already doing it as part of, so there was, in other words, they were spending time, parts of their English class, working on their project, which they would be doing now.
Yes.
It's just that in the past, they got it was a separate requirement to actually, that grade of that project was a separate grade from the English grade, correct?
I think it's both. I think the components of the project along the way are part of the English grade because it's happening in English class. So if I'm spending
Or just having
1
to
or
at
2
least-
days a week in instruction and writing workshop with my students, those grades are going to become part of the English grade. In addition, they have to do that public presentation. They do a PowerPoint presentation. There's an assembly. Both Mr. and Aubin and I were part of the process beginning of the year when students selected a problem or a topic, and they actually have to interview with an administrator and kind of argue their case for why they think this is a valid use of their time over the course of so many hours in English this
So
year.
the difference then and now is that before, they had to pass that class to get
They had to pass the senior.
past
Well,
the
still,
senior
they still
project
have
portion
to,
of it.
unless you decide to vote.
They could pass English and flunk the senior project, and they
Yes.
wouldn't graduate, because it's a graduation requirement.
So I have to say, Tony, and students aren't getting time in class to do this. And if they do get, when they do get.
That's not true. Students are getting time in class. I've been in classes where students are working on the senior project.
So they're not getting we could sit here and.
I've been
I'm
in
going
the
to-
classes where it's happening, so.
Okay,
I
so
think that
I'm-
so everybody's experience is different, and you're well aware that we have students in the school.
I
So-
am well aware of
so-
that.
So I think maybe that's coming from a different perspective, and that's.
But I don't think we can sit here and say no student gets time in
don't-
class.
I didn't say that. I didn't
That's
say
why
no
I was trying
students.
I
to
said
clarify.
students are not getting
I
time,
said, right, because there are students who are not getting time.
but not all students are
I
not getting
I
time.
did not say all students. I said there are students
I'm just trying to
who are not getting
understand.
time.
Concern
and
is time.
Students aren't getting time. And if they do get time, and like I mentioned before, if they're not where everybody else is, they're not getting time to do their work because the class may be at a different place in the project. So if they're not in that place, then they're not getting helped, and then they're not getting helped on their paper afterwards either. So it's either more resources are need to be done, or a way that it's being handled needs to be fixed, because it's, in my opinion, I think that it's a great idea for our students to have this experience, but I think the way that it's being done now needs a lot of work.
So if you'll notice in the recommendations, I appreciate your feedback. I really do. We are suggesting that we need to continue to work on the process, the product, implementation. So I agree with you.
And I do think that there are teachers that are working on it in school, in class, or I know that that's happening, and
And I think in a venue like this, we need to be careful about generalizations.
Of course.
And, yeah.
And every learner is going to be different, and, well, not everyone, but learners are going to be different on how they handle things. So when you've got a classroom filled with 15, 20, or 25 students, to be able to give the level of support that is needed to make, because you want this experience to be a good experience for our kids, because this is something that they're going to be working on when they're in college. So you want to be able to give them the tools on how to figure out how to do it correctly, so that when they get to college, they're not like, oh crap, oh no, I got to, work on this again. They're excited and can say, I was given the tools to do that.
And I think there is a lot of evidence to suggest that that's happening often in our schools, because many students do reach back to teachers after they go to college and express that they have a leg up because they have had to go through this experience. And I totally agree with you that every student's experience in this project is different, and it allows them to work through difficult assignments, to have feelings of stress in a manageable way, so that they can build their grit and resilience and feel more confident and comfortable about achieving at higher levels in many different venues when they leave high school. So I do agree with you completely.
Lisa, when this came up a few months ago, when we discussed this, you mentioned that the kids would still be, they would still be forced to do the work, and they would still feel that pressure, and, there was conversations about that, but, I think what we wanted to do with this was just kind of take that edge off of that senior project and not make it just seemed like it was over the top, a big deal for the kids, and I think we were just trying to
Tone it down.
just tone it down just a hair. We want the kids to do the work. We still want them to feel nervous and get up and speak in front of, we want them to do all those things. We're not trying to, we're not trying to dumb it down.
You
Well,
wanted to
trying to say,
have,
Nancy.
you wanted to have an appropriate place in the curriculum, is what I'm hearing.
Lisa, today, before the committee, is whether we want it to be a graduation requirement or is it part of the English class. Our curriculum director has recommended to us, and we put it on the action agenda tonight, we'll address that later on, is I don't think any of us object to the fact that we're gonna move it out of a graduation requirement. I think we all are
Agree.
there. So I don't think that's the issue. I think the problem with the committee, and I still have a problem with it, is the actual, this this is what we do, senior project. It drives me crazy because we have kids that aren't gonna go to college and they're gonna go out there and they have this type of pressure and they could get so much more out of it. We had this discussion about doing something that they're interested in, something that would, you know, we talked about doing some type of STEM project for somebody, doing,
An appropriate project for
Expanding-
the appropriate student.
yeah, and more personalized as opposed to this square
Rigorous,
box and the rigor of this, not really meeting the needs of all of the students. Because, you know, we have a lot of kids that will never get in front. I know that everybody wants, you know, get them up there and let them speak. Not everybody's a public speaker. I mean, if they, you know, I think that, it's not,
Ask Agent Hopkins, but.
Maybe it's adjusting the, like it says you have for resiliency, should not be the same type of, that would be for college prep as an AP course. And like, if it's a resiliency program, maybe you'd want to create a project that's a hands-on, a STEM or whatever, for that specific one. And then, you know, college prep, you'd have it at your normal, and then AP would be much higher, which actually could grade much more on the grading level. Does that make any sense?
I understand it. I just want to make sure that the choices are equitable, because I agree that, you know, when you think about universal design for learning, you want to give kids choice in their topic, and we do that. And I really value your input about the idea of choice around presentation, right, around product. You know, there's a place for a written product. There's a place for a more tactile, hands-on product. So I appreciate that feedback. We all need to be able to go out into the world and be civically engaged, be able to argue our points effectively so that we can maneuver in the world and get our own way when we need to.
Right.
And so I think there's an important place for research, thinking, collaboration, and writing in every one of those categories. But I also think there's an opportunity for us to enhance the product that kids are going to present at the end of this experience. So thank you for that and for those ideas.
Evan?
I just have a quick question. So the committee has talked in the past about the personalization aspect of it, of the project. So what are under the project that currently exists, what are I know there are guidelines, general guidelines on the project, but in terms of personalization or selecting a topic, what are the guidelines there in the,
So
right
the
now?
students choose their own topic.
Okay.
And they do, for some students, they already have an idea, a problem. They're very civically and community-minded already, and they know what they want. They know what they want to attack and impact. For other students, they haven't thought in that way. So it's an opportunity for them to really broaden their thinking around how am I going to enter the world? What kind of difference do I want to make? And those students are given a lot of support, and these are the hot button topics in the world. What kinds of things are you interested in, and what problems exist within those realms that you might be able to solve if you did a little research and then you created a community action event. I think, you know, just to give a little plug to continue what Mr. Aubin was saying earlier about the great things that are happening in the district, I think we saw kind of a glimpse of that with the Civic Action Project and the showcase that our 8th graders did last week. They really stepped up, and that's kind of like the first step in getting more comfortable presenting. Some students were very eager to get on stage and share the slides that they were in charge of. Other students participated in different ways, you know. So I agree that we can always get better. There's always work to do. And you know, if you want to have a conversation about ways that you think we can get better, I would love to continue that conversation.
Okay, if everybody's set, we're gonna move on. This would be a Tony topic, curriculum update.
Okay. So in the packet, the 14-page packet that I provided, if you want to go to the front, oh no, that's not where we at, right? It's a little bit out of order. Let's see. Curriculum.
11.
11, right?
Page, oh, thank you. Page 11. So you wanted to know, my understanding is that you wanted an update on what's happening as a result of the findings that we got from NEASC. Is that correct? So at the top of this document, I just inserted the vision of the graduate, which is a huge component of the NEASC work. And the vision of our graduate is aligned to the word Wildcats. So our graduates will write and communicate effectively. They'll imagine, create, and problem solve. They'll learn through their whole lives. They'll dedicate everything to excellence. They'll connect, collaborate, and civically engage. They'll adapt to change and challenges, and they'll take intellectual initiative. They'll also support others. So those are the main core values that we want our students to graduate with. According to the NEOSC report, schools should meet this standard, that there is a written curriculum in a consistent format for all courses in all departments that includes units of study with guiding essential questions, concepts, content, and skills, and integrates the school's vision of the graduate. And that there is a written curriculum in a consistent format for all courses in all departments. And also that the curriculum ensures that learners demonstrate a depth of understanding over a breadth of knowledge. So really the only finding in the NEASC report was around curriculum. Everything else we met all of the expectations. And what NEASC says is the school has yet to have a complete written curriculum in a consistent format for all courses in all departments across the school. Several departments have curriculum documents in common formats for many courses, including guiding and essential questions, concepts, content, skills, and some assessment strategies. However, instructional strategies have yet to be documented in all curricula. So we received this report in mid-February, and we've obviously digested the report. Building leaders here, along with district leadership, have had conversations around this, and we've started to think about, okay, where are we at? I know before I got here, when Mr. Aubin came on board as a superintendent, teachers were instructed to start creating units by design units based on the UBD model. And we have stage 1 and stage 2 primarily done in 90% of the courses that are taught right now. So we have courses in our program of studies that don't get taught every year because of staffing, and also, when students fill out their course selection sheets, the courses are created based on interest and need. So some courses you might go into the Google Share Drive and see that they're not completed to that level, but that's probably because a teacher hasn't taught it. And if you only have one teacher teaching 3 subjects or 3 courses within a content area, there's a limit to the amount of curriculum development that they can do in addition to planning their daily lesson plans. But we do realize that the daily lesson plans are not included in those formal documents yet. That's not to say that daily lesson plans in those courses aren't being created and taught. Our next step is to now convene with educators and provide them with time and structure so that they can get those daily lesson plans included in our shared drive where all of the curriculum is housed at the middle and high school. Also, I wanted to touch on some of the things that have been done outside the UBD framework. So this year, we've instituted a materials and manufacturing course at the high school that's taking place in the workshop where the boat building happened last year and years before. We are enhancing our college and career readiness work with the inclusion of MyCap. That's a platform and a structure so that everything everything from grade 6 through 12 is connected to college and career exploration, and planning. And we are actually extending it down to 5th grade because we're a 5 through 12 school. We're also working with the school committee with you all to include personalized course options for varsity athletes and visual and performing arts. That's been happening throughout the year, who participate in our long-running performing arts shows. We have this year expanded our 8th grade civics project to respond to community needs, as you know. We're utilizing grant funding to supplement curricular resources as they relate to genocide education, hate crime prevention, social emotional learning and mental health, and STEAM and college and career readiness. This is not in here. I forgot to include it. But we are also using that grant money to support teachers in writing new curriculum using the UBD model, and also including those stage 3 as part of the process in these new units around those topics. We're also reimagining our high school experience. That's one of the goals in our Student Opportunity Act plan that I'm going to present later. And I've included a graphic here that shows you, it kind of ties together everything that we're doing to kind of revision what's happening in our academic courses to connect them to college and career readiness.
Lisa, the curriculum, the work that we have on the curriculum.
Yeah.
Is that mostly in the classroom level with the classroom teacher that still needs to get done, or is it more district-wide and?
I would say it's at the classroom and department level, and the work is being done. It's just, and I'll take part responsibility for this because I know before I got here, a lot of the professional development time, the whole and half days, were dedicated to the curriculum work. And what we realized is we have to have more of a balance between providing time for curriculum development and also professional learning. And so we've been trying to kind of find out where that balance is. So more.
I can piggyback on that, however,
Sure.
if that's okay. The fact that we focused on curriculum was due to the fact that we were in some challenging
We're aware.
situations, so.
Just
So
to,
When,
When will it be, I know that when you have new courses, then
Mhm.
you have to write the curriculum for those
Right.
courses.
Yep.
And the understanding for the committee, the last time you spoke on these issues, is that the core classes, the Englishes, the maths, the
Mhm.
history, those classes have the curriculum. It's when we bring in other, and, you know, other classes that aren't necessarily the core classes, and, you know, with teacher turnover, when you have cuts, and then you bring in new teachers, then the curriculum, and I know that that's been an issue. So I think the question is, when do you envision it to be completed?
if I wanted to give you an ambitious date, I would say we could have stage 3 daily lesson plans inserted into those UBD units by December of 2024, because we're heading very quickly to the end of the year. We have a half day in April and May that have already been planned out, and then before you know it, it's going to be summer. So in next school year, I can schedule time in so that staff during professional development time, during common planning time, during PLC time, can take the lessons that they have and insert them into those documents. And it sounds like an easy process, but if you want to do it well, it takes time.
No, understand, so not ambitious, what, how much, how long? End of the year?
End of next school year.
So for the committee, because Tony and I won't be here, I'm sure they'll revisit that with you and see where you were at.
Great.
So, you know, I completely understand you came in and you had to I understand. and
Yep.
you certainly can, I truly do understand, but we want to put timetables on this stuff.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
when things get
important,
done.
And it's exactly.
Mhm.
So not trying to light a fire, just a little one, and get a timetable. Any other questions?
Lisa, and
Yes.
you've been satisfied with the reading specialists at the elementary school and how that's been working?
Yeah, so if you go to page 13, I have a little right up there. So last year, at the end of the year last year, we restructured the staff at the elementary school so that we could provide more of our early readers with intervention support that I think Mr. Gendro alluded to earlier. If we can get more of our readers reading on grade level, we're going to have fewer students who present with learning difficulties later on. So currently, we have 155 students receiving Tier 2 and Tier 3 reading interventions at the West from 5 reading specialists or interventionists. That's an average of 31 students per specialist. So they're actually seeing more students than they would touch if they, theoretically, intellectually, if they had a classroom, because the classes are not that large at the West. Of those 155 students, as of the latest progress monitoring check, which was mid-March, 83% are reaching their goals and/or making adequate progress. Those who have not yet reached their goals are receiving reteaching in the skills they haven't yet mastered. But 83% of 155 students is a lot more than would be making progress if they weren't getting that support.
Lisa, are the benchmarks the other students, or are the benchmarks in the program?
The benchmarks are the DIBELS assessment. We use DIBELS, which is a nationally normed test, so.
So when we did this, we did it with great hesitancy, as
I
you
know.
recall. And it was because the reading interventionist has always And as I said, under a different curriculum director, we were hoping for a different result. But we wanted to see progress. So we
Yeah.
actually referred to it as a pilot this year to see what type of progress these children could make with the reading interventionist program that you were putting in.
Yeah,
And they get tested with the Dibbles
every 6 weeks.
every 6 weeks.
Mhm.
So we haven't seen any data, and when we're doing the Tony Nancy agenda, we kind of said, oh, yeah, we haven't seen that data. So if you could,
Yep,
you know, in the future, report that progress
Yeah.
to the committee, that would be important to
we
watch
had
the growth.
originally, I think 2 weeks ago at the last school committee meeting, we said we would do that in May. So that is on my calendar.
It maybe if it's done, you know, if you give it once during the, you know, the first half of the year, maybe
Yeah.
in December, and then like May.
Yeah.
Give the two sides to see if the program works, because if it's not showing, I mean, you're saying 83% are meeting their goals. Well, where did they start at? Like, what's
Well,
been the
they're
trajectory?
well
Has this
below,
been,
right, yeah.
you know, if
They
you
were
say-
selected because they're well below grade level.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
So maybe more of a simplification for
Yep.
those of us that don't have a master's in Dibble testing, that you could just simplify it.
Sure.
As in, these readers were reading at a, you know, a third grade level,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're at a fourth grade level. I
Yep.
think that that's better for folks that watch this meeting and people to understand, and especially the committee that is supporting this so long as it shows progress.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lisa, I think what would be important is if you could say, you know, at the end of the year or at the beginning of next year, you could say that of the 150 kids that were serviced by these reading specialists,
Mm-hmm.
you know, 95 of them don't require that help this year.
Well, that's the goal, right, is to exit
I
them
mean,
from
that's
the
what we need to
program.
see
Yeah.
To make sure that these programs actually
Yeah,
work. and
yeah,
We're spending our money, you know, wisely.
yep. I
So
appreciate
that was
that.
just it, just like to have that feedback.
On layperson's terms.
Yeah, yeah,
Thanks, Gloria.
all right.
But that being said, I mean, you know, again, we're not at May and June yet, but I would say that's a good number, in terms of progress. I'm
No,
pretty
it sounds like a great number, I just want it simplified.
understood, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the Student Opportunity Act, Lisa?
All right, that's on page 1. So this has really evolved. As you know, this is my second year in this role, and every 3 years, districts must submit a plan for targeted improvement based on accountability data. So we always every 3 or 4 years we do a district strategic plan, and the Commonwealth of Mass understands that. But that's for all of our learners. They want us to look at accountability data, hone in on the bottom 25% of our achievers, and come up with a plan to help them accelerate their growth. So that's what this Student Opportunity Act plan does. We have to engage with the community, or I should say we get to engage with the community as we do this work. And at the top of this document, you can see a little breakdown of how the community responded. So the majority of our respondents were parents and caregivers. We had some educators who live in town also respond. And we had some people who identified themselves as townspeople. They might also be parents and caregivers and have identified themselves in multiple categories. But basically, we created our plan based on what showed up as the highest priorities for these folks, us, and how things aligned with our district improvement plan. So we tried to focus on things that the state suggested would be high priorities, but only if they were high priorities for the direction that the district is going in. So we were asked to pick 1 to 3 focus areas, and we settled on 4 because we are ambitious and because they really do align with our goals as a district. So the first focus area is to develop effective and authentic family and school partnerships. Our second focus area is to select and skillfully implement high-quality instructional materials that support culturally and linguistically sustaining practices and support deeper learning, which is a big goal of ours, right? To personalize learning, but also to offer a lot more experiential learning with our students. And then underneath each of the focus areas on page 1, you see the exact like subtopic. They call them evidence-based programs, but these are the exact subtopics that we're going to be honing in on. So for focus area 1, it's helping students and families see themselves as valued partners in our district. For focus area 2, it's supporting curriculum implementation. So this goes directly back to the question that you asked about curriculum and what the NEASC report told us, right? So we have these units of study, what's happening as a result of those units in the classroom every day. And I think everything that we've talked about tonight ties into that, right? When we talked about the senior project, how can we make it relevant and valuable for every learner? When we talk about reading, how can we help all of our students to become readers so that they can navigate through a difficult curriculum effectively as they progress through our district? So the third focus area is to use the MTSS, that stands for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support, to implement academic supports and interventions for all our students. I'm summarizing here. And we settled on the evidence-based practice of high leverage practices for students with disabilities. Because students with disabilities and low-income learners are the students who have the slowest gains in our district, and we really want to accelerate their growth. And then the last focus area really does tie into the work that we're doing here at the middle high school, reimagine the high school experience so that all students are engaged and prepared for post-secondary success. And the evidence-based program that we selected was post-secondary planning. And we're actually really already on the way with that because we received the MyCap planning grant, and we have been doing trainings. The committee that's part of that process here with Principal Charette and I have been doing trainings with DESE all year, and we're getting ready to start piloting some of those lessons so that everything that students do when they come to 5th grade and go through the process to 12th grade is connected to some kind of career, some kind of idea or thought about a career, learning about new careers, figuring out what students' strengths and attributes and interests are, and exposing them to the myriad of careers that kind of connect with those skills, attributes, and interests. So everything that we selected for this plan connects to everything that we're already doing, but will help us, again, like you mentioned, Chairperson, about having targets, right? And having deadlines and timelines so that the stuff doesn't fall away. Because oftentimes in education and other industries, the important gets pushed out of the way by the urgent. And when you have deadlines and you have accountability measures, the important stuff gets to stay on the front burner. And because you have to occasionally and consistently kind of check your progress, if you will. So I just kind of highlighted on page 1 what we go into more detail further in the document, and I'm happy to take anybody's questions.
So Lisa, on
Yep.
the focus area of Reimagine the High School Experience, that would tie into the internships
Yes.
that we have talked about. And I think it's a big, huge, and I know the committee does, getting our kids involved in different facets of the town.
Yeah.
Doing janitorial work in the school, the extended day program, doing the Start 'em Young, getting some of our athletes or non-athletes, because it's still a leadership role with direction. They don't have to be an athlete to be supportive of a coach. I know that Mr. Orban and I have discussed this. I know the committee's discussed it.
Yep.
I've talked on the town side, getting these kids, in the fire department to help with the filing, see how the dispatch goes. All of that, when you start looking at college applications, the SAT used to be, the cornerstone when we were in school. I'm not
Yep.
gonna say how old we are, Lisa, but now they really wanna see a rounded student, and those experiences, graduated this year. Anyway, those experiences are really good on an application and on a resume that they had it. And then the town is gonna see the kids tying into their community. There's nothing, the Council on Aging, helping them with technology, but giving them a job. I don't know how hard it was for me to find my kids when they were 15 employment, because they can't drive, and they're lounging around all summer and they're bored, and trying to find them an opportunity for employment. What greater thing could we do? The street department would love in Westport to have some kids helping them, maintain the cemetery properties, helping them cut grass, paying them minimum wage. And, there's a lot of buy-in on that in this community. I said, the beach, why don't we have 2 kids, 4 kids, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, 1 with a pith helmet, checking in cars so that it's just Westport residents coming in, not people loading up a car at $25 a car load because it's cheaper to pay the tow fee. It's just, we can do so much. We can do so much with our kids, and it will give them what they need. So this tie-in of that, and the internship program, I know you've grown it in the district. I want to grow it in the town. And the police department and the fire department, giving them those opportunities just to be exposed to that environment. They don't have to ultimately be a fireman or a policeman, but just to be exposed to it is a wonderful experience. And to be able to pay that, even our kids are so smart technology-wise. They're so savvy at it. They can help us. I've had my kids in my office just do, cataloging cases. I don't even want to say I don't understand, but I didn't understand. But they did it. And the thing is that that's important, and they have a lot to give.
Yeah.
So I love that
Thank you.
piece. Thank you. Anybody else?
I just want to give her a shout out. The Student Opportunity Act is a beast, and she did an absolutely
It's a great job.
fabulous
you.
job on it. And I feel very fortunate that we have Lisa at the helm here, because she's doing this
Lisa,
job.
you've done a tremendous job since you've come to the district. I've had nothing but high praise, and the committee hasn't had anything negative to say about you. You've done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
And your ability to spar with us is appreciated, because you don't get upset. You give your facts, and you stick by them, which I think is admirable, and it shows the conviction that you have.
Well, I feel like, I always have things to learn. And
Yeah.
I just want to get better for the kids in the town, and
So
I
as much as
appreciate you guys.
We know you're gonna miss us.
I am going to miss you, yes. Yeah, it's really been a pleasure working with you both, and I wish you the best in your next chapter, and I hope we can stay connected with some of those internship ideas.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa.
So,
Okay, discussion of the future ancillary building. Michelle, who's gonna talk about this? Or I just can do a short little,
You can do a short little,
okay,
of
so,
what you originally were
so
looking for.
we hear things. So our athletic director came the last meeting, and she talked about, having to need some type of, structure at the field for storage of equipment, because they're dragging it back into the building, as well as like a potential snack shack. So I thought it was a great idea. We do have some ESSER funding, so before we leave, right, Tony? We wanted to talk about the possibility that the committee continue those conversations. And again, let's not push this off for 2 or 3 years. Let's
Has to be
just
done.
get it done.
ESSER
And
funding ends
Michelle
soon.
made a really good recommendation to me today, and it was, we could get a food truck. And we could buy the food truck with our revolving food budget, and then we could have the kids certified, 2 kids, whatever, have several of them, have somebody to manage them. And I'm not talking about, they're not gonna be like chefs, but Gloria, they're not gonna be chefs, okay? It's gonna be pretty basic, ice cream truck kind of stuff, and that kind of stuff. Truly a snack shack kind of experience out of a food truck, so that we can move it on and off premises when we need it. I think we could make tons of money by parking it down in the Westport parking lot over the summer on a Saturday or a Sunday. But again, we're employing the kids, they're learning a job skill, and really our buy-in, I told her that the committee, I did this because I'm leaving, so you guys can remember, we need to know the cost of the truck, what it's gonna be to insure it, and then what it would cost to have somebody supervise it. And then I think it's a great idea. So that makes the facility or this building structure that we're talking about smaller, because it's about just equipment. And the food truck would be actually a roving food truck that we could then use at all of our kid class events at the end of the year. We could bring in our own food truck, and we could do that kind of stuff.
So you're looking at 2, this building.
Yeah,
and
a
truck,
separate
okay.
structure just for the equipment, if you so choose to go with the food truck idea. If you don't want to, I just thought we had a lot more opportunity to give students on internships having something that rolls,
Now, if you're looking at a food truck compared to a food trailer, there's a huge difference, about $50,000. So a food
Well,
trailer,
this is why I want to task you with this and, as we leave.
I
It's
just
your-
put
it's
in a
your-
thing.
It's your sweet spot right there, right?
It depends on how much you wanna spend, and we, like a food trailer can go 75, a food truck can go 150, 200. So it's just depending on, okay, this is what we're gonna have, and I can do that, cause I just did
We're
it for somebody else.
Westport, we're thinking used with some refrigerators.
Well, again, that's all different, because I would always have to use, when I did things, I had to put things up for bid or whatever. I can ask Senator Rodrick, because I did a grant one time before for a food truck, and how you would relate it to what you need it for, so I can ask him if that's still.
Whatever you guys want to do, I just wanted to open the discussion, because I didn't want something to just be left, like, we need a place to store the equipment. That's a need, and we have ESSER funds that need to be spent by June, and
That'll be
I think
probably
maybe you
your-
should
your
consider
first bet.
that, whether it's whatever the structure is, you said it wouldn't.
Nancy, yeah, no, it was my plan and my hope that we would use some leftover school building funds to build a steel building out there somewhere, because we do need storage space.
Okay, so if the school build is gonna take that piece, then maybe we explore just the food truck piece, and you're still on the school building committee, so you can
But we
work on that.
we do need storage space.
Yeah, no, I think, so I just want, these are the things that need to get done that drag on and don't get completed. So that's why I just wanted to bring it up. Anybody else want to talk about food trucks or anything else? Okay, let's move on. Action agenda. Review and act on the minutes of the school committee meeting Thursday, March 21, 2024, budget work session of Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Review and act on the senior project requirements. This is to remove the senior project as a graduation, an individual graduation requirement. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this? Having none, that motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Review and act on the Westfield trip to Rhode Island
You
Philharmonic
missed the
Orchestra.
Student Opportunity Act.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. I'm just rolling out the show, Gloria. Review and act on the Student Opportunity Act. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And motion carries unanimously. Review and act on the Westfield trip to Rhode Island Philharmonic Orchestra on May 2024.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries unanimously. Your routine correspondence and notices, I have nothing, and I am going to give the floor to Mr. Viveras for some closing statements.
How would you like me to put it? Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
So the lady is singing. It's time for me to hang up my hat. I just want to say that, people ask me why have I done this, or why do I keep doing it? And it's because I enjoyed it. That's what it comes down to, right? None of us would be here if we didn't enjoy what we were doing. And at the same time, I hope that, we make a difference. And I hope I've made a little difference in many students' lives and students who are still yet to come through this building. So, a wise man once said, if you, surround yourself with people smarter than you, it's a good thing. And so I've always tried to do that. We've had really great committees, and I think good committees that aren't fighting, which we don't do, and we do disagree. That's how we get things done. And we've done a lot, Nancy, with your help, with the budget, and, I think we've really put us over the top. I've been saying it, repeating myself for months now, that, we've come out of that hole we were in, and we're over the hump, and good things are happening. Students are actually leaving other districts and saying they want to come to Westport because there's a lot of great things going on, and I just see that getting better and better, and, with you guys here, that will continue. Mr. Albin's certainly been a firecracker here in the district.
Sure is.
And I'm sure he will continue.
Work with them all day.
Sure, and he will.
That's why we only do this twice a month, okay?
Right, Laurie?
And again, it's thinking out of the box and not getting too comfortable in the everyday work that goes on, and it isn't just these folks here in the room. It's the 250, 60 some odd staff we have in the district that come to work every day and really care about their kids. And again, why do they do it? Because they enjoy doing it and they want to help the kids. I really believe that. And of course, to my beautiful wife, who's had to put up with me being on the committee for all these years.
Now you got him a couple extra nights a month. He's all yours.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But, no, I just want to say thank you, all of you. Obviously, I've gotten to know many of you for all these years, and I have nothing but respect for all of you, and again, we're in good hands, and I just see things getting better and better, so thank you for your support over
Thank
the
you.
years. Thank you.
We can, on that note, we do have a couple of gifts for both
Gifts?
of you.
Wait,
I think
Is-
they want to say,
hold on, are you gonna say
you
anything?
can, you can.
So, I wanted to say something to both of you, so I'll start with Tony. So,
God.
Tony, when it's not gonna be too long. When I first started on the
Lay it
school
on
committee many, many years ago, you were here. And you were the person that I could always count on who would, not that we all didn't have the best interests at heart, but I always knew that I could count on you for advice, or that you were never worried about some sort of political line. It was always just what was best for the children in the district. You know, I came on board when the PCBs were in the middle school, and now we're actually sitting, you know, in a school thanks to you. I mean, it's in part because of you advocating and doing all that you could, and I always appreciated you. So thank you for being that person, not only for our school district, but also for me personally. And thank you, your beautiful wife, also for allowing you to be here. And Nancy,
What can you say?
no,
I
well,
understand.
we,
It's a mouthful.
you also always have, and we all have the best interests of our students in mind. But we also very often, not very often, but we've disagreed on certain things. But I always know that no matter what we disagree on, it's because your heart is in the right place. And just as Tony had said it before, when you know that someone's heart is in the right place, you respect their opinion even more so. And it makes me a better person. So I just want to thank you both for all that you've done for our district, for all that you've done for our community, how passionately you advocate, even just for this town budget. It's not because it's coming out of your pocket. You know it's
Feels
what's in the
like it.
best interest for our students.
It's coming out of everybody's pocket.
So you both will be missed, and I just want to thank you sincerely.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I could also, sorry, Michelle.
You know, I really thought this was gonna be a short meeting. We were really hoping for some
Apologize.
Still all
cupcakes.
right, we're not bad.
I first met Tony when I was the student representative to the school committee.
Oh, my God.
When I was in high school. And I can't tell you what an honor it is to be, you know, Tony's colleague now on the school committee. And the guidance and the knowledge that Tony has really been a strong asset, not only to this community, but to the district and to the town. And his insight is, I think, really important. You know, Tony asks the right questions. He knows the policy. He goes through the bill warrants, and he's really been a great guide for me as a new member of the committee. And Nancy has as well. And I had the privilege of knowing Nancy as well before joining the committee. But working with her in this capacity has really, you know, shown me that, you know, she's really a strong fighter and an advocate for the district and the students here. And, you know, so I can't thank them both enough in my short time on the committee so far for their guidance and their advocacy for our students. So thank you both.
Thanks, Ed.
Fine, I guess it's my turn now. I've only been on committee a short time, a little bit longer than Evan, and everybody, to me, except Mr. Aubin, has been new. So in that short time, I've been schooled, I've been taught, I've been reschooled and learning, and it has been so important. My children have been out of district for many, many years. And when I came in, it was to make the district how I think they should be taught from being a teacher and learning about that. Watching both of these, and these two people have been amazing in my world, because I'm coming from a very strong woman's standpoint who's teaching me how to be stronger. I'm coming from a very compassionate man who's teaching me to look in different directions and learn more about these things and take the time to do it, to better every aspect for the students, because that, no matter what the town people are and the partisans and everything else, it's about the kids. The kids are our future, and we have to get them educated, but you have to get them educated that they appreciate it and they love it. And with people like this and a leadership, the students will get it, because we're going to continue with the leadership and in their ways of what we've been taught. It'll be a very exciting next few years, and because of the great people in front of us that have led the path.
Thanks, Courtney.
Well, Tony and I go way back, Durfee. So, we kind of brought the Hilltopper pride here to Westport Wildcats, and, you know, the first school committee meeting I had, it was coming into a school committee that had some bumps, let's say. And Tony and I talked, and the first thing he was just, you know, I just want everybody to just, like, get along. We can do a lot of things here. We got to get along. And you were right. And we did, and you're right, we've had our disagreement, COVID, I mean, we made it through COVID, Melissa.
Made it through COVID.
You know, we've made it through some really tough times, and we still respect each other, we like each other. I really will miss you, from the bottom of my heart, to just sit there and, like, you know, elbow you, and, you know, I'm gonna miss that. But it's just been a great experience. It's a hard experience, this job.
Nancy who?
No, it's been a hard experience. It's been a great experience, and that's what it's all about. And we've had great people. We've had great school committee meeting. You know, it's been amazing. But Tony, what you did, like, you know, double digits on the school committee. I mean, kudos to you, because it's a grind. And the school building committee, and we're still on a campground, by the way. So, you know, everything that you've done and that you continue to do when you leave here, you're still doing the school building committee, has been amazing. And I learned a lot from you, and I'll never forget, and I'll tell you guys again, Nancy, the policy's right here. It's all in the book. You have to read the book, Nancy. I'm like, where's the monarch note to the boat? No, I don't want to read that. But you were right, because it's all in there. And so you were very informative and so helpful to me when I started on here. You gave me a lot to think about and a lot of directions to look in, so I do appreciate that. But I do want to say, Sharon, I will miss you most of all for correcting all of my mistakes, and making sure all my motions are right, and making sure I get the minutes done. And by the way, the senior project, just in those minutes, that's for next year, just so you know. That was the intent of that motion. Thank you. But I really want to say that, you know, you remain quiet and you keep us corrected, and you always do it in such a nice way. So I will definitely miss you, and thank you for all your help. To my peeps back there, my Melissa, my Michelle, my business office people who I have bothered every day about money. You're amazing, and you know what? When I watched that FinCom meeting, and I watched the school committee, and I was really troubled, because I did pull for school committee, and I'm saying, I can go. I can actually go, because they got this. You've got this. You
Until
people,
you get up there, then that's gonna be a problem.
but you really do. You have it. You did such a great job, you know. And Kirsten, with all of my HR stuff, you do a fantastic job. You take care of a big district, and you keep everybody in control, and there's contracts flying around, and you always keep things in order, and you keep this crazy man in order, and all the rest of us, and I can't thank you
Twice
enough.
tonight.
Lori, thank you for being the outside guard dog for him. He needs a continuous monitor every single day of the week. And you do it, and you do it so well. We appreciate it. Lisa, as I said, you know, curriculum, you've rocked it. Thank you so much. Nancy Tavaz back there, our early ed special needs coordinator, excellent job. Thank you so much. I know I pick on you every time she comes in and she's like, another sped expense. I'm like, what? So it's not because I don't love you. It's just that when you come to me, it's usually about a number, and it's not a good one. It's usually money. I don't like it. And Tom, you know, we've been together for a long time, and I got you into this crazy show, and you said yes, and I really do appreciate everything. We've had our battles, and we'll always be friends, and thank you so much for everything that you do for this district, and you fight for these kids every single day, and this district's gonna be fine. And I've always said, my father said it to me a long time ago, Nancy, nobody's indispensable in this world. And with that, we leave this committee in good shape, and this district in good shape. Just keep doing the work that you do. Tony, why don't you call us out?
Madam Chair, I apologize, but now that you're not my boss after you bang that gavel, we have to make a confession that we didn't listen to some of the directives that you had given us. So I'd like to start off, first of all, by recognizing Jeremy Crowley. Jeremy, do you have a second? Can you come on up for a second? And Senator Rodrick could not be here today because he thought the meeting was at 5:30. He has a 6:30 engagement, and so we have a couple of awards for you.
So my name is Skylar. I'm actually from
Skylar, I
State Rep
apologize.
Schmid's office. As
See, completely wrong.
Yeah, well,
Hi, Church Wrong Pew. Skylar, I apologize.
Just erased everything I said about the guy.
Yeah.
He didn't know your name. Go ahead.
as Tom said, Senator Rodrick was supposed to be here with the Senate citations. However, I wanted to also stop on by. I've been the district director for Rep Schmid for 5.5 years now. And one of the things that I learned very quickly about communities, or you can tell which ones are the good ones by 3 things: how they treat their veterans, how they treat their seniors, and how well run their schools are. And I'm from Freetown, and my sister is an educator, so, you know, I have a hometown bias because she'll hit me otherwise. But second, you know, is Westport, and Westport schools are in great hands. And I know I've probably worked with you behind the scenes several times. We just wanted to express our gratitude and everything you've done. Getting this high school built, making sure all the students, no matter whether they're, you know, this tall or going into politics themselves, always had an opportunity. And that's something, you know, even sitting here and listening to the teachers kind of stand up and say, well, we need these things, and you guys having a back and forth, that's what this community is all about. I think Westport, bar none, does it better than anybody else. And we just wanted to make sure that on your last day, you were recognized by the entire House and the entire Senate. He will be here eventually, just keep waiting. But with that being said, we wanted to present these state citations to both you and Mr. Viveros on a job well done.
Thank you very
Happy
much.
retirement from Rep Schmid, our entire office, and if you ever change your mind, please let us know, because we don't want to add more emails to the Rolodex. But thank you very much, and congratulations.
And if I may, I want to thank Skylar and Representative Schmid. There's air conditioning over at the MAC right now because of Representative Schmid. He's been a huge supporter of this district, and I feel very sad that he's going to be leaving, but happy at the same time that he's going to enjoy hopefully a restful retirement. So Skylar, thank you
Thank you.
so
Thank you,
very
Skylar.
much for
Thank
everything.
you
very much for the
having me.
kind words.
I do have to run. I got to go let the dog out before he chews
Oh,
my
business
shoes.
is
Stand at, go ahead.
Wonderful night. Congratulations.
Thank you
once
very
again.
much. Take care.
So it looks.
Not listen. This is not listening.
You have no idea
You have no
what's in
idea.
those
So,
bags.
so yeah.
And for once, we can,
Right.
I
So-
directed them and I said no.
So we're gonna do the serious stuff first, okay?
Serious stuff.
Yes.
Gave one to your wife.
So you can.
Those could mean a lot of things, Sue. Sympathy.
So you can see Dr.
happiness.
Pacheco is taking care of business here as far as her end of it, so I'll defer to her.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
One for each, yep. Doesn't matter who gets what.
do you want them opening them now?
Where's Mr. Holly? This is for you. This is from, you guys didn't have.
Just
Oh,
in
my
there.
girl,
Gloria.
yes.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Gloria. These
I'll
the
get out
ones
of the
with
way.
the ones that, they're in the tall container like that, in a bag.
We're gonna save the best now. The best for last year, so.
Right, so as many of you who attend or watch the school committee meetings, you may have heard Chair Nancy Stanton Cross once or twice say, I have a full-time job and I don't get paid for this. So in honor of providing you with the remuneration in true Westport style, we have checks for both you and Tony, so there you go. That
Oh,
is
there we
a.
go. Absolutely nothing
I
on
just
it.
want to point out that that
Tony.
is a check for nothing, okay? And,
That's great.
Would you like me to do Mr. Viveras first?
Oh,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much. That's great.
All right, so we're gonna do Mr. Viveras first. So Mr. Viveras loves to come in and, you know, bi-weekly likes to go through our bill warrant and question every item he possibly can, to the point where he drives us insane. So he always comments how he hates the recycling bill. It is the most ridiculous bill he can sign. So we got him his own recycling can.
The invoice, the
Yes.
invoice.
He comments constantly how he hates the scoreboard, so we've gotten him his own little scoreboard now, so that he can get it placed, because he's hated the scoreboard. Every year, Mr. Viveras always loves to say, since I've been in this job, which Tony and I are kind of like brother and sister. We have fought like brother and sister probably for at least, 20 years?
Yeah.
I don't know, since Aiden was probably in kindergarten over there.
15.
Yep, at least, and everybody's always like, I can't believe the two of you talk to each other that way. I'm like, we're like brother and sister at this point. So every year when we have to do the school lunch, who's gonna do the school lunch, he's always, I don't care about anything, Michelle. I don't care what you have in that paper, is Domino's getting it? So we got you your own $30 gift card for Domino's.
There's your payment.
That's great.
Okay?
Oh,
So-
by the way, it is under $49.90,
It is under
so we don't have any
$49.90.
ethics
We're
issues.
good.
We don't have any legal issues, that's good.
So then the other thing we got, because we know how detailed you are in all of these bills, I made sure you had your own magnifying glass. Don't break it.
That's great.
So we know the other bill that you love to complain about is the water testing bill. Why do you have to do that? Why? All the time. So we got you your own little water tester. So you can use for your pool at home. We spent some time thinking about these things.
They did.
So then we got you your own T-shirt.
Oh, wonderful.
When we get to Mrs. Cross, Attorney Cross, hers is much more entertaining than this one. It's,
Tony, past chair, vice chair, member, forever advocate, grateful for the journey and proud of the impact.
Oh, wow, that's so nice.
That is,
Your wife wants to take a picture, open that up.
That is really, really nice.
And now for the serious gift.
the serious gift.
Really?
For all your years' hard work to our students and district.
Thank you.
Well deserved, well deserved.
I love it, that's great.
Oh, then we'll get to
Yeah, I'm not
Attorney
looking forward
Stanton
to this.
Cross here. We'll get to this piece of it.
Your bag is admittedly shorter.
Correct, because you didn't want
I
as
didn't
much.
complain as much as he
No,
did.
no.
Right,
correct.
right, well,
Oh,
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say
don't
that.
worry, we'll take care of you
As
for
a
this
matter of
one.
fact, what an excellent segue.
Yes, this is
Because
perfect.
we were able to have a T-shirt made.
All of your best
It
quotes.
has obviously what Tony's has. But what we did was we added a number of memorable quotes from Attorney Nancy Stanton Cross. And some of these
I'll hold them.
I'll
Sorry.
point out personally. Tom, this is not diamond. Scratch that, Shaman. I have a memory like an elephant. Who said to do that? Not me. And do you have a minute for a call? Now, there's many more, but we thought that captured the flavor of
That's
what
awesome.
our experience has been with you. So,
There you go.
this is another gift that really is apropos and really expresses, I think, the real heart and soul of Nancy when you're asking her for things that involve money.
Yes. And if you press it, go ahead.
I love it. That is just like her voice. Before, this is great. Look at this.
That's her voice when she's yelling at us.
Oh, it is.
No, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, you recorded me? That's perfect.
That's just how I make it easy for you people. No.
And finally, all kidding aside, we know you're going to miss banging the gavel,
Right.
so we wanted to make
got
sure
you.
that you had your own gavel as well. And
Awesome.
That was so nice.
give you-
Nancy's always kept me honest. She's made me a better business manager, and she's kept me honest at all times. So.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Tony.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, my man. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you.
All right, Tony, gavel us out. Motion to adjourn.
We have updates?
Just do a motion to adjourn. We're out.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Well
Good job.
done.